not redundant.
Right.
Well, and the other part is just the other information. I know Bob, when you're talking to people when you're older about the possibility of connecting up with them somehow, so that if something's going on over there, the wind's going our direction, we know. And I spend a good chunk of time in Humboldt, okay, at another house that I have. And whenever anything's going on here, I'm monitoring Broadcastify nonstop, because they have a whole feed. They pick up many, many channels, including some of the tactical and command channels. So you can hear it, right? Well, they've, like the last round in Walbridge, there was a flare up. And they were talking about issuing either an order or a warning for Hacienda. And they were going to do a flyover and they were going to check, and it depended on what the wind was going to do. Well, it was 45 minutes before the warning was issued. I was texting my neighbors from Humboldt going, hey, this is going on. And so just heads up, you're going to get something, right? So my motto is like, the more you get, the better off you are, you know?
Right.
That's the thing.
And when, and going back to the evacuation zones and, you're getting out. So one of the things they learned with the tubs was when everything went down, everybody tried to leave at one time. 101, I was in Marin, I was driving home, 101 was gridlock. It was not going anywhere. On ramps, I think everybody was stopped. So when they created these evacuation zones, the idea was that they could, it's kind of like being at an event or like in a wedding where each table gets up to go to there. That's how they set up these zones. Those that were going to be impacted quickly were the first zones that they were going to get. They want to get those people out, and then they would slowly start following in suit with others. So everybody didn't leave at one time. So that's what's nice when you, like I say, when you get that evacuation warning, that's really when you should be leaving. When you get the order, that's when you absolutely need to leave. People who want to stay behind here, anywhere, with the fire conditions we're seeing in the last 4 or 5 years are unlike anything I saw in my career. It's unheard of. When people stay behind, they create a problem for all of us, because all of a sudden they get overwhelmed with what they're doing. They're calling 911 saying, I'm trapped. Well, guess what? Now me and my crew have to go into that to try to get you out. Now you're endangering our lives. So like I say, for us, your best bet is get out as soon as you can and stay out as long as you can until we get a handle on things. So Alina sent me some questions the other day that were sent to you that I want to try to answer. And if there's anybody else that has questions, I'm not sure if you can, for those of you that are visiting on the feed, but I'm here to help as best I can. So one of the questions was, what's the role of Sonoma County Fire District versus CAL FIRE in the state responsibility area we call the SRA? So in the SRA lands, CAL FIRE has overall control of that fire. That's their fire, it's in their lands. Now what we will do is we go to what we call unified command, because there's going to be a lot of entities who are involved in this. That's going to be law, fire, PG&E, it could be fish and game. CAL FIRE will have the overall responsibility, but there will be unified command. So any agency that has a vested interest will have a liaison as part of that team. So they're all working together to make sure that everybody's needs are being met. Same goes for an LRA fire, a local responsibility area. If we had a fire in the Sonoma County Fire District, it would be our incidents, but we would have other agencies in there with this unified command. Even if CAL FIRE came in, so even if it's not on state responsibility area, a lot of times we want the aircraft, we want the inmate crews, we want bulldozers. As soon as we call for a CAL FIRE resource, they're coming in. So now we all become a unified command, and they work in conjunction with each other. So how does mutual aid work among the local fire agencies? So basically, mutual aid works to the agency with jurisdictional responsibility. So whoever zone is the fire is in, that's their responsibility. The way resources are ordered is what we call computer aided dispatch. It's called the CAD system. It's all set up at dispatch at Redcom. So when there is an event, be it a small structure fire, vehicle accident, or large scale fire, their computer automated dispatch is already pre-programmed to what pieces of equipment are going to get sent on that fire. And as it builds, they just keep going down the list, and they're all built in blocks. And they just start toning out. They'll hit that block, it'll turn out certain pieces of equipment from certain agencies. It really goes to whatever is the closest resources to get in there. And then they will start backfilling as resources go out. They start what we call the move up. We saw with some of the bigger fires. we had equipment from Utah, Montana, all over the place. So typically you'll see anything in Northern California will really be Northern California based. When we start getting overwhelmed or we get too many incidents, they'll start bringing in from Southern California, assuming they're not getting hit hard. And then from there, then they'll start going the outlying states who will start offering resources and coming in. So it's kind of a system that just keeps building on itself. Also, we have what we call the California Master Mutual Aid Agreements. So, and there's a California Fire Assistance Agreement. This came through the state. Basically what this is just an agreement the state has with all of these cities, towns, counties, what have you, that they will send the resources, that they will take care of the funding for these resources, and they'll work it out later. But go ahead, you never hesitate to say, well, before we come, are we going to get paid? The agreement's already said that yes, in fact, you will get taken care of. Just get this apparatus on the road and get it going. Hydrants. So out here, the question was who monitors and how often? So out here, it's California Water Service Company and Sweetwater Springs. They are the ones that service the hydrants. They're the ones that test the hydrants. As they do these, they send us the information, and that way we keep track of what's being taken care of. But it's their responsibility to maintain the hydrants, check them, make sure they're not leaking, make sure that somebody has backed into one, things of that nature. So yes.
Any rough idea of how often they supposedly monitor the especially tap water?
Theoretically, they should be doing it annually, and that includes the clearance around the hydrant. So one of the things that drives us nuts is, overgrown brush buries the hydrants, and you'll see the blue dots in the roadway. That's what we look for at nighttime when we're driving down. A lot of times we can't see it. So that it should include flowing the hydrant, lubricating all the caps and the fittings, make sure the gasket's in place, and then we flow the hydrant. So one thing we'll always do if we go to a fire, before we hook our hose up, we'll open the hydrant up and flush it out, because there'll be a lot of debris. You get rocks in there, you'll get rust in there, things of that nature that we don't want going through the pump. So we'll open it, flush it out first, then turn it off and rehook up. But as far as the maintenance goes, it should be those two agencies taking care of their hydrants. And if they're not, then it's time to make a phone call. And you can always call us as Sonoma County Fire District and say, hey, look, I'm concerned. Here's this hydrant, it's overgrown, or if it's leaking, let us know. We can contact them and get somebody out there, get it taken care of. Fire risk inspections, fines. So last year alone, Sonoma County Fire District alone did over 1,800 vegetation management inspections. A lot, probably more than we've ever done. Because of the fires that we've had these last few years, we really put an emphasis. The hard part we have in our prevention division, there's only 4 of us. So we have a large area to cover. What we do have, which has really paid off, is on our website, the Sonoma County Fire District website, is we have a weed complaint form that you can fill out. So if your neighbor, so you've done all of your veg management, your defensible space around your house, but you have an empty lot next to you, or you have a neighbor who's just not doing it, you can go on our website, fill out that form. When you submit it, we're going to be out there within a day or two, and we're going to go and do it. We have the assessor's map, so we know who the property owners are. What we're running into is a lot of people own property in Sonoma County that don't live in Sonoma County. And so they're not checking on it. They don't have any idea. They're not thinking about it. So once we get that complaint form, we go out, we do the inspection, we take pictures, and then we notify them directly. They have 30 days to start the process. Depending on the size of acreage or the size of the lot they have to clear, as long as we see them making progress, we're okay with that. Within 30 days, if it's done, not a problem. We kick it once we do the initial inspection. It goes to the county. Excuse me. The county is responsible for doing the follow-up inspections on that. We will have people where, same thing. The county can only do so much. We're a big county, so they'll say, it's been 2 months and nobody's come out, nobody's done anything. We'll go back out there and then we'll call the county and say, look, this is a priority. You have to do this one. Not many people get fined, because when you start telling the people, hey, you're gonna start getting fined on a daily basis if this doesn't get done. If you think the clearance is expensive, wait till you get the fines. And people pretty much snap to it. And especially people in Sonoma County, everybody is so cautious and so alert now. We don't have too many problems. Most people are in there and being aggressive and getting it done. Yes.
Is this applied at any parcel, or is it certain distance from dwellings?
Well, it depends on, so the county, let's see if I can break this down. So in California, they go with Public Resources Code 4291, and that's their vegetation management code. Sonoma County felt that it wasn't stringent enough, so they created their own that kind of goes on top of the 4291, which is 13A. I think it could be a little bit stricter than it is, but you have to find that fine line with people. So that's where we're getting in, requiring 10 foot of space around your property line. Now, if you're looking at somebody with 500 acres out in the middle of nowhere, we're not going to be too concerned about that. If it's that 500 acres butts up to somebody else's property where there's a home and things of that nature, well, then yeah, we're going to make sure they get in there, at least do that at a minimum. And what we're really doing is going out there and saying, hey, look, the requirement is 10 feet. I'm sorry, 10 feet, 10 feet off the property line. But we really ask you, could you do 20? Let's give it a little more buffer. 10 feet really, it's kind of the bare minimum. It should be more, depending on the kind of fuels. We're not getting any pushback from people. Almost everybody say, yeah, no problem. If we're gonna go out there and mow it, we'll mow 20 feet and we'll do what we can do. Like I said, we had really good compliance these last few years in Sonoma County. But yeah, depending on where the situation is, like I say, if it poses a life threat or a threat directly to your property, then yes, we're going to be a little more aggressive with that. If it's really an open space, it's out in the middle of nowhere, probably not so much, just because we can't be everywhere at one time and we have other priorities. We want to be sure that homes, structures, things like that are really protected and we get on the open space. Yes.
Full of questions tonight.
No, great. That's why I'm here.
Was it last fall? I think there was a fire at the old glass shop on River Road, across the road, right across the road. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was a dwelling or a building that was probably occupied by homeless. Or
right.
Somebody or druggies or something.
Right.
And it was, your men were there instantly.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of redwood duff on the roof that
right.
burned, and there was a lot of trees, redwoods and bays. And afterwards, we tried to initiate some sort of action about that building, and nothing has changed.
Did you go to the complaint form?
I think so. I'm pretty sure we went to Cindy Foreman.
Okay, so typically that's why I'm saying, really, if you see something that's a problem, something that's a concern, fill out the complaint form, because we get those on a daily basis. And we've been really, we're really aggressive with those. We get those complaint forms within a day or two. We're out doing the inspection.
Well, that happened, but nothing has happened. It's still you can go and you look at it. Yeah. It's terrifying.
Okay.
It's really scary.
Okay.
Do we do it again?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now the thing, obviously this time of year, we're talking about veg management, home hardening, things like home hardening. Yes, I would start right away. Veg management, just keep in mind, we're just at the tail end of February. If you go out and start cutting your grasses now, you're going to be out doing it again in June. And then after June, you're going to be doing it in August. Right. So, we're not going to be that heavy on it today like we would be in June, July, and August. Same thing. It's not just veg management, we have business inspections. We came into Grenville and started doing the business inspections. A lot of the shop owners are going, what are you doing? We've never had a business inspection. Correct. That's why we're here, because you have to, by law, any business has to be inspected every year for safety. Make sure their extinguishers, their sprinkler systems, whatever it is all up to code and compliance. So a lot of people were kind of, a little miffed by that, but our number one priority is public safety. With that being said, that's protecting the property owner as well.
So as a ballpark figure, like what percentage is actually up to code compliance?
The vast majority.
Really?
Yeah. And what we're finding is even those that, what I will say is not even in compliance, they're minor little changes. But for the most part, everybody's been great. Obviously everybody knows about the River Theater. That was a big one that obviously stirred up the community, but it was bad. It was bad. And I'll be honest with you. I went home and I told my daughter, don't ever go to an event there. It was a death trap. It was that bad. If something happened there, it would have been bad. Jerry's been great. Jerry, as frustrated as he got, we worked with Jerry over and over and over again. Finally got it open. He got in there and he cried a lot about it, but he was great. He worked with us and we stayed on top of it. We tried to explain to him, look, we're not here to be the bad guys. We want you to open just as much as you do, but we want to be sure that your patrons come in and they can be safe. That, if something were to happen, that it'll be relatively small. You can get people out in a timely fashion. You're not overloading. So it was great. We worked well together, but he was kind of unusual. The vast majority of the businesses we deal with are, if they're not in compliance, they're right off of it. And within a couple of weeks, they're back into it. So it's rare. Let's see here. Communications at the Grenville fire station. That's always a tough one. So power goes out, their power is out. Now they have a generator, which is good. So that keeps their power up. So that keeps their computers running, it'll keep their radios running. But if the internet's down, they don't have internet. The reality is we don't want people flooding the fire station in the events, asking questions, things like that. They're busy, they have things going on. Once again, that's what we're asking people. Go get on these apps and get online to some of these websites. And that way you're gonna have the same information that they're getting. But that is a problem out here. When the power goes out, the power goes out for days. And it's just part of living in the West County. It's remote, it's rural. One of the reasons why people want to be out here, but there's pros and cons to that. Portable generators are great to have. Highly recommend. I've got one in my house. I don't even live in the West County, but yes.
One thing that hopefully will help improve that is the California Public Utilities Commission putting requirements for backup power for all of the major telecom providers.
Right.
Wire 72 hours, but all wireless towers, Comcast nodes are gonna have to have 72 hours.
Right.
There was a failure at Casadero, and that was the batteries in the central office.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You
Yeah.
need, for the generator to kick in, you need batteries. There are
Right.
Batteries still, so,
Yeah.
yes.
Now keep in mind, with these large scale wildfires, if the power goes out, we don't want the power back on. We don't want energized lines out there because that poses a problem for us. So it's going to be a long time before they re-energize the lines. Before they do it, they need to clear with us. Are you guys ready and safe to do so? And we'll tell them yes or no. So, you have that possibility of being out for quite a while. But the reality is, in that kind of event, you're probably not going to be here anyway. You're going to be evacuated. You're going to be out.
At
Yes.
least for them, the communications lines.
Right.
That's
That's the
why they
key.
did it.
Absolutely. And that's where the GRMS radios come in great. Is that way you still have communication with people. One of the things we talk about, like with cell service, a lot of times when cell service goes out, natural disaster, you can't make local cell service calls, but you can call somebody out of state. So if you have friends, relatives that live out of state, you can use them as your resource and do your check-in back and forth with them. So as part of your emergency plan, you tell everybody, hey, we're gonna call Aunt Gert, whoever it may be in Nebraska. If something happens and we're all separated, call and check in with her, let her know that you're okay where you're at. And then everybody checks in with them. So it's kind of interesting how you can call that far away, but you can't call in the immediate area. Do you have a question?
Oh, I know.
That's my life.
So glad the power in Hacienda did not go out during the fire.
Yeah,
There's a lot of meat gone.
right. And it's interesting how the grids work. It just depends where you're at.
I was watching it through my cameras the entire time. Watching people leave, and watching to see if any emergency vehicles were coming in.
So one of the other questions had to do with the ham radios and the ACS radios. So our understanding, so the ham radio was operated by this local CERT program, which apparently has disbanded and really isn't up and running. I had heard through my conversations with Sam Wallace at the county, was the ham radio broke. And then, so they didn't have one for a while. They replaced it, but now they don't have anybody to operate it because for that, they have to be FEMA registered and certified. So we don't even know if the radio is there or not. But when I talked to Sam, he's head of disaster management, he said they will actually send somebody from the county out who's ACS approved. They will park them in front of the fire station, have the ACS system up and running. So yes, in fact, there will be communications from the county to the communities out here through that system.
And to your question earlier about the GMR radios, we have a system set up so that there are a few people who are ham operators and are part of ACS, and we'll be using that as a relay. That's one of the reasons where the Grenville fire station question came up.
Right.
Is because we needed to have a node there to be able to get information out.
Right.
So, just to clarify, those are much more useful probably for someone who's a long-term resident such as myself rather than someone on vacation. The
Yeah.
radio is a better situation where they get a little prompt as well as literature in the house.
Yeah.
And then you don't want people who aren't familiar with the area,
Yes.
people trying to figure out how to use that.
Yes.
The GMRS radio also needs a license.
Right.
Yeah.
An FCC license.
Right.
Yeah, but that's easy to get. It's not.
It's
That's
not
not
like I
difficult.
can do a hand crank and take it to.
Yeah.
You don't have to actually understand electricity.
Right, and I don't. That's always been one of my weak points.
I have one and I have no idea how to use it.
Telling him.
So we'll see.
The radio and
We'll
everything.
see you tomorrow then, right? Yeah. Another question, a really good question, because we get this every year. Would cigarette disposal containers help reduce the risk of what's starting fires? So this is a misnomer for people thinking, and when we see it all the time, we kind of laugh at it in fire service. It's very rare that a cigarette will light a fire, because the parameters for a cigarette to light a fire are so narrow. Your fuel moistures have to be within a certain window. Your relative humidities have to be in a certain window. Cigarettes don't burn hot enough. I believe the cherry on a cigarette on inhaling is about 200 degrees when it's not just lying there. It doesn't put off enough heat. So can it happen? Yes, but it's very, very rare that a cigarette will start a wildland fire. We get it all the time. Oh, somebody flicked the cigarette out the window and it started a fire. Or I mean, not to bash anybody, but there was a fire investigator from years back for another agency in the Bay Area who we got to laughing every time he got on. Every one of his fires was a cigarette started fire. It's like, come on. What you're telling us is you couldn't find the cause, and so it was always cigarettes. So it became kind of a standing joke, but very rare that cigarettes start fires, start wildland fires. I said the conditions have to be within a certain window for it to even try it. And this is through science experiments over and over again. That I think last we saw the percentage was like single digits for a cigarette to start a fire. So now in a structure, it's different. Mattresses, couches, things like that. Yeah, that's very common, but in the wildland environment, no, it's very rare.
Well, then I guess I have to ask you the hard question.
Yes.
You know that in this area, there's been a lot of suspicious fires.
Yes,
And there's a lot of anxiety in our community about the suspicious fires.
understandable.
There's a lot of tension between people
Yep.
who are accusing other people
Right.
of starting fires. And we have gone to the county as a group of citizens and asked for some help with no burns allowed in the summer, open fires.
Right.
And have been told that that's a no starter. So do you see it anywhere that we're going to have some answers about how do we control people who are burning woods around us, literally burning us down?
Right.
How are we gonna deal with that as a community?
That's a hard one. It's a hard one because that's where the politicians are getting involved, and that's where their regulations are coming into play. We don't have the authority to really do that from our standpoint. As I said, even the current standards out there for veg management are lacking a little bit. We'd like to see it a little more stringent, but you're trying to appease all different entities coming in, so you're trying to find that middle ground. I know out here a big thing is, and we're having it throughout the state, is the houselessness population. And it seems that, on social media, as soon as there's a fire, automatically it's houseless. It's houseless, where a lot of times it's not. People kind of jump on the bandwagon. We try to tell people, hey, slow down, wait for the investigation to come through. We'll figure it out. And typically, if it is, we'll find out through investigation. We got a couple arsonists last year. People talk. People can't help but talk. And the sheriff's department has been really, really good about getting out there and talking to, they know the people in the community. They get out there, they know who to start talking to. And within a couple of days, they find out who it was. I believe we had 2 or 3 arrests out here last year alone from arson fires that we've had. We're pretty good at the investigation side of things, but a lot of people say, well, you're not giving us enough information. Well, they can't, because it's a criminal investigation. Until they get all the information, they get their hands on somebody, they don't want to release that information out, just like anything else in law enforcement. So it's frustrating, it's tough, but like I said, a big one is people kind of jump on the bandwagon, and you start watching it snowball on Facebook. Several times I'll step in there and say, hey, stop, this is not proven, the investigation is still underway, there is no evidence to suggest that this was caused by the houseless. There's just so many different things out there that can cause fires. So, and our responsibility is to make sure that if we do find a cause, that we've done our due diligence and ruled out any other opportunity or any other possible causes for that fire. So, but that's going to be another problem this year, and it is a problem. It's a problem statewide, and it's really sad. What do? We don't know. Where do we put people? you know, and out here, there's just so much open space. They're up in the hills, they're all over the place. You know, they have warming fires, they have cooking fires, and, you know, you
So
get some
is it
good days.
true that in the state of California, you have to let someone have a cooking or warming fire when it's below 50 degrees?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
That seems to be part of our law.
Right. Right. Well, and you know, the biggest part of our problem right now is because of the drought. Everything's dry. Here we are in February, and we're getting, you know, these fires that we've never had in the past. That's a good question. I really don't know. I don't have an answer to that. Should people start sprinklers as they evacuate? No, please don't do it. It's not going to make a difference. And if everybody were out here turning on their sprinklers before they left, guess what? We have no water to fight fire because you only have so much that your system can feed. If you're getting to that point, you're well behind the curve. First thing we're going to do when we show up is turn your sprinklers off. We're going to turn everybody's water off. That way we can get the water that we need so we can get in there and fight fire. So no, it's really not a benefit. I know there's a big push now, people putting new construction, putting sprinkler systems on their roofs, things like that. We just don't have the water in California. We don't have the ability. If everybody out here were to turn their sprinklers on at one time, the system would be dry. We would have nothing. So no, please don't turn on your sprinklers. And then this was actually a really good question. We're really pushing the home hardening aspect. That's really what we're finding is making the difference between homes catching fire and homes not catching fire. Really, we're talking about that 0 to 5 foot rule around the house. The question was, what is the most cost-effective home hardening strategy if you have a limited budget? So at a bare minimum, you want that 0 to 5 foot space around your structure. Complete hardscape, no plants, no bark, no chips, wood chips, things like that. What they found through studies was everybody's got wood chips. I just bought a new home. Guess what? My whole lot all around the house is wood chips. It's like, great, I got to remove all of that. 5 feet off your home, get those wood chips out of there. What they found was when the ember cast comes through, those embers go, they seat in the wood chips or they seat in your nice dry plant next to the house. And that's what's getting houses starting the fires. We'll go through, and it's not uncommon that we'll go through a neighborhood and all the houses are fine, come back 3 days later, and all of a sudden you find 1 or 2 houses that burned down because we couldn't see it because the embers got underneath those wood chips. They just sat there and skunked around, a little bit of wind, and all of a sudden off it went. But nobody was there because we'd already pushed through that neighborhood. So really, really important. So the bare minimum, as I said, the 0 to 5 foot clearance, remove all the flammable vegetation, wood chips from around your structures. So create a hardscape 5 feet off your home, be it decomposed granite, concrete, rock, anything that's non-flammable. Very important. Clean your rooftops, your gutters, especially out here living under the trees. You get that redwood duff, that redwood litter that builds up every year. Clean that off. Beginning of summer, get those rooftops and those gutters cleaned up. Move your wood piles, any other flammables away from your structure. Get them 30 feet off your house at a minimum, off the property. And then remove your combustible cushions from your patio furniture. If you have wicker furniture, move that away, things of that nature. Those are all little things that are very receptive fuel beds to these ember casts that are coming through. So that's really going to be the most cost effective and probably going to help you the most as far as protecting your home. And that's all I have. Any other questions? Anybody? Did I cover the information for you? I know it's all new for you. I got some veterans here, so they've heard the spiel. Good. You're ahead of the game. You know that? No, it's okay. You know, I mean, I see familiar faces. Absolutely. That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared. Like I say, the time to pack isn't when you get the evacuation warning. You should already be packed and ready to go. And we have so many people say, oh, when I get that warning, boy, I'm going to start grabbing things.
Earthquake's not going to give you a warning.
Nope. Right.
No.
Right. Mudslides. Nope. Exactly. So yeah, no, to be prepared is your best defense.
Well, thank you,
So,
Jim. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Oh, I ran over a little bit. Sorry about that.